Welcome to Triumph and Disaster, a show dedicated to manly creativity and culture. Brought to you by your host, Cameron McHarg.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Cameron McHarg, and this week I am really excited about this episode. We have Tomm Coker on, who is an incredibly talented comic book artist who has worked for DC, for Marvel, for Dark Horse Comics. He's done it all. He's done Batman, Iron Man, whatever, X-Men, everything. Just a really prolific and extremely talented and humble artist. And we go a little longer than normal. We go for about an hour and a half in this episode. I don't have any really cut and dry rules for what we're going to be doing on the T&D podcast. I'd like to keep it at about an hour or so. Maybe even a little less, but right around there. So it's, basically good for a good solid commute. But we just had a really good talk. I really, really enjoyed it. We had a great talk. It was really candid and really inspirational. He has been drawing since he was a teenager. Not just drawing. He's been drawing since he was a kid. He's been making a living as an artist since a teenager. I think he said he started when he was making a living when he was 17, if I remember right. And if you refer to that 10,000 hour rule where you don't master something until you've done, something for 10,000 hours, I forget the number, he mentions it in the talk, but he actually went back and tried to do the math on that for himself. And he estimates, I think he said he's probably put in about 75,000 hours drawing. And it's really inspirational. He doesn't believe in talent. He does not believe in talent. He gets up every day and works and draws at about 7:30, no later than 8:30 every day, and stops around 6:30 at night every day, and has basically done that routine for his entire adult life. So just finding out what it takes to become great and what it takes to master something, to master an art, not just kind of dicking around with it here and there on weekends or whatever. And that's fine. And that's great if anybody wants to do that, but to really, really master something, he talks about that. And it's a funny talk. It's a fun conversation. Why don't we go ahead and get right to it? Here's Tomm Coker, Triumph and Disaster. All right. I have Tom with me. We were just talking about, we're out on my front porch right now, and you can see downtown LA from here, and there's a building. What's it called? The Wilshire Building or something?
I don't know. It's going to be the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere or something.
It's like the trade tower height almost, right?
Yeah,
it's
something like
huge.
That.
Yeah, so we can see it in the distance, and I guess some guy fell off at like the 55th or 3rd floor or whatever it was and landed on the back of some girl's car.
Guy.
So that's how we start this talk.
Yeah, we're having a better day than he is, I guess.
So, Tom is a dude that has a lot on me. Like you're one guy that can blackmail the shit out of me because
I have, yeah.
He has many photos. I don't know if you deleted them of me, basically like basically like in tidy whities and a cape, holding like wiffle ball bats, which will become like Thor swords and shit like that. You actually, can you explain why? Why I do that?
I draw comic books. And most often I'm asked to draw when I'm drawing comics, to draw like photorealistic stuff. And so, because Cameron is, you can't see me gesture, so he's a big and muscular individual, then I was using him to model for a bunch of like superhero kind of shit. And so I have just a bunch of absolutely ridiculous pictures of him, in a cape and
contorted positions.
Yeah, doing like, trying to be a superhero while I take pictures. I don't know if I have all. I think I've kept most of them because I used to delete all my pictures and I started keeping them.
You have? You've kept some of them?
A couple of years ago I started keeping them.
Why? So
maybe I had like the last 2 years worth of pictures.
Just in case? Just in case you need a little extra dough?
Yeah, exactly. I can start a magazine. Just because, I don't know why, just because it seems like they're an asset, and if I delete them, then I don't have, like, there's been times that I'm like, oh, I wish I still had that particular thing.
I can use that pose again.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever that was.
Or if I'm just trying to figure something out, I can look at them and kind of sort it out on that.
That makes sense. I'll post. I have the blog up too, so I'll post. I'm the Vision.
Mm-hmm.
The Marvel Division. So I'll post it up on the blog. You guys will see it. And dude, I never told you this. By the way, this happened once. I can't believe it happened, but I actually got recognized from that one time at the Comedy Store last year. this dude actually recognized, and he flipped the fuck out. Like he thought it was the coolest thing ever. It's a true story. It happened once. I don't think it would ever happen again. But
That's
some guy
funny.
had a good eye, and actually, yeah, it's crazy. It was some
very funny.
big comic book fan, like Comic-Con guy. Actually, so yeah. Speaking of that, I've never been to Comic-Con, and I know
can't go this year.
Daniel was your former partner, writing partner at one point, and we can talk about that too later if you want. But
Daniel Friedman.
Daniel Friedman. That's just some pretty crazy scene, isn't it? You have a pretty substantial amount of fans, don't you? Not to toot your own horn, but you have a following in that.
I think I do. I mean, it's weird because I don't go to shows. I don't go to conventions very often. I don't like do a lot of autographs and sign books and shit. And sometimes I'll go like when I usually will go when I have something to promote. But in the last like 4 or 5 years, I've been mainly writing or doing like design stuff that you can't show, and it's all NDA stuff, so you can't show to anybody. And so I haven't gone to any shows. And then this year I was going to go to WonderCon in San Diego, the one in Anaheim and the one in San Diego, I guess. And the two conventions, and I found that I can't go because somehow I'm no longer registered as a professional, even though I went to San Diego Comic-Con 18 times in a row.
Jesus
and
Christ! So it's getting like that. Like I saw, like
WonderCon, I went to for 18 or 20 years in a row, but now because I haven't gone in 3 years, I think, then I get bumped off the list.
Wow, that's like wasn't it the Grammys? Paul McCartney got.
Yeah, he wasn't on the list to get in. Whose fucking party was it? It was some.
It was him and Beck, I think, together.
Yeah,
they weren't on our list.
And they weren't on the list, and the dude was just like,
"No, you're not on the list, bro."
And I think Beck said, "Do you know who this is?" And McCartney was just like, "Well, I haven't done it much lately," or something like that.
Exactly. That's funny. But what's it? It is pretty crazy, though, right? There's a lot of weird shit going on down there.
Yeah, I mean it's nuts. Like I'm older now, so I'm 40. I'll be 43, or I am 43. I don't even know.
There you go. That says it all.
I'm old enough to not know how old I am. I'm within a year though. It's like 42 or 43. But when I was younger, there was an enormous amount of comic book money going around, and all these like kids that are. I think I was 16 when I started going and trying to get work, and then
I didn't even know it was. When did it start? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I didn't know it was.
I don't know. I think the first year I went was the first year it was in the at the new convention center, which is not new anymore. It's 20 years old now, or maybe 30 years old now. But so I think it was at the Cortez Hotel or something across the way there. Prior to that, but so I don't know how long it's been going on, but it's been at least going on since 89.
Wow, and it's changed a lot. 80s. Now it's like a huge Hollywood show, basically, right?
Yeah, now it's all Hollywood stuff, and the artists, the comic guys like me, they kind of get a little bit of. You're kind of there at the grace of the powers that be. I don't think they really give a shit, honestly. And not, I mean, it's still called Comic-Con, but at the same time, it's like the comic shit. The people like me that are creating comics, we're not paying the bills. It's the people making the movies and the studios and stuff that are paying the bills. So I get it, but it sucks. But when I was a kid, there was huge amounts of money just floating around because of comics. They were selling so much, and so you'd go down there and you have some, you'd be 17 or 18 or. I mean, up until I was like around 24, 25. And you'd have these kids like myself or other people who do an issue of Wolverine, and you'd get a royalty check for a lot of money at that time. And then suddenly you'd let all these kids loose in San Diego with lots of pot and speed and alcohol and Tijuana really close by, and it would just become Marquis de Sade really, really quick.
It was like a Hieronymus Bosch painting.
Yeah, it just became absolutely just absurd. really, really fast. I'm amazed no one that I know died. I mean, it was because there were times that I look back, but not look back like years later. Like look back like 15 minutes later and think, wow, we should be dead. Like that was a situation we should not have.
I never thought of comic book dudes
through.
being like doing the rock star lifestyle down there like that. But that's kind of what happened.
Well, come on, we're all like. We were all kids that were into comics, which was not cool at that time. And we were all guys who had spent enough time alone in their bedrooms learning how to draw that we probably didn't have enough girlfriend interaction. And now we were all old enough to be making a fairly good amount of money. And some guys are making huge amounts of money.
So time to make up for lost time.
Yeah, and so you're suddenly let loose, and then you're the star of the town for a minute, and I remember one year there, my friend, I think it was Jeff Johnson, who now he works in animation somewhere here. I'm sorry, Jeff, because I know you're a friend on Facebook. So I hope I don't think there's anything embarrassing about you. But I think it was Jeff and Shepard Hendricks and maybe Derek Robertson or some of the guys. And they had a reservation for a room at the DoubleTree down there. I forget what it's, the DoubleTree Courtyard or some shit like that. Mm-hmm. And when they got there, they double booked everything, and so they had no room available. And because of the situation, and I was probably 17 or 18, maybe 19 when this happened, so that's long enough ago that I might be mixing up some of my facts here or something, but I'm pretty sure this is what happened, and I know a lot of it's what happened, but they didn't have a room, and so because of that, they were given a presidential suite.
Oh my God!
And like literally, like a few weeks prior, Clinton had stayed in that suite. Man. Like this is
So did it look like a Jackson Pollock with a black light in there?
It's like a 2-story. There's a grand piano. There's a jacuzzi. It's 2 stories.
Big mistake to turn over to you guys.
It's, huge king size beds, overlooking the entire downtown. It was amazing. And we're just a bunch of dumb kids that are looking to, have fun and maybe get lucky and whatever. And I remember my big visual memory of that is, I don't know if it was Dave Williams or someone was upstairs in the jacuzzi, and there's a huge party. The place is just packed with people that are drunk and sloppy, and and people that are like really repressed. People that only get out of the house like once a year, and they're at this is their thing. It's the show in San Diego. And I remember sitting there, and I'm just hammered, and I'm sitting on the floor in the living room, laying down, and I'm looking at the chandelier in the entryway, which is beneath the jacuzzi, which is upstairs. And I started to realize that the chandelier was filling with water.
What?
And that something, I don't know if they were overflowing it upstairs and it was going down through the floor, or if they'd somehow ruptured something and it was going down through the floor. But I do remember just sitting there thinking like, oh, that's going to cost a lot of money. Like that's going to... And then just wandering off and going to try and find girls or something like that, just because
that's the attention span of like a 20-year-old dude.
Yeah, it didn't matter much. But I don't think they got thrown out though. But I think the party got shut down quickly after that.
You got started early doing this stuff, didn't you? You just said what you were drawing when you were a teenager.
I was I was 17 when I got my first job. I think I just turned 17. Because I had my son when I was 16, and really young, my girlfriend got pregnant, and we ended up having a kid, and Andrew, and he's 20, he'll be 27 next month, 2 months from now. And so I didn't really have, I was not good at anything, or I was 16, so you're not supposed to be good at anything.
Right.
But when she got pregnant, I was 15. And so I decided, well, the only thing I can do is draw pictures. And at that time, I just drew like, Eddie Maiden and like...
Oh, Eddie, the Iron Maiden Eddie?
Yeah, and like death metal album covers.
On your PT in school?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of but I drew it for all the yearbooks and all the... I would draw Eddie like get in line at the cafeteria and all kinds of stupid shit.
Like the school newspaper or something?
Yeah, for the newspaper, for the yearbooks and stuff. And lots of just like monsters and stuff like that, and half-naked ladies. And
of course.
And so I decided, well, I don't know how to do anything other than draw, and I liked comics. I don't think I was reading comics at that point, but I did like comics. I loved comics when I was a kid, and I had a fairly okay collection of stuff. A lot of creepy magazine and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And Savage sort of Conan and like all the black and white stuff. And so I sat down for a couple of years and just said, I'm going to learn how to draw. And then I just happened to be lucky enough to I think I was 16 when I went to my first WonderCon, and then the Comic-Con in San Diego. And I think I was working by the time I was 17, I was working. And I just happened to be lucky enough that there was an enormous glut of work, that like the boom in the industry happened right at the same time that I was trying to get work. And so you didn't really have to be that good. You just had to be able to imitate, the guys that were popular at the time that were making, these huge amounts of money for books, selling huge numbers. And
you, so when your girlfriend got pregnant, you actually decided, okay, I'm going to really go for this. Like before you were just kind of playing?
Well, I mean, I would tell people that I wanted to draw pictures for a living, but I didn't really know what the fuck that meant. Like I just knew that I was going to draw. In my teenage brain, I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do for a living, but I didn't know how I was going to do that. And then when she got pregnant was when comics became like, because comics were easy. Like I wanted to do movies and stuff like that as well. But then with comics, I could look at the inside, front page, and at the bottom they had an address and it had a name and it had
right. This is before the internet, so you had to
mail stuff in, and then you'd wait a month and you get a response, and it'd be like, go to hell or whatever. Like,
was there a lot of that? Was there a lot of go to hells? Yeah. Yeah,
there were some people who were really nice about it, and
just rejection in general.
Hundreds and hundreds, because I would just sit there all week and I would draw, a few pages or a handful of stuff in a couple weeks or whatever, and then once you'd get 7 or 8 pages that you thought were worth showing people, then you would just send them off and
hope for the best.
So like every 2 or 3 weeks, you'd end up sending out like 40 or 50, manila envelopes with a return envelope inside of it. Return it, post. What is it?
Oh, SASE, self-addressed
stamped envelope. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Does anybody even know what that is?
No, I don't think anybody does. Now it's just reply all. But and so you would you just get enormous amounts of rejection. And then a lot of them, a lot of the times you didn't get rejection because they just wouldn't respond.
Just nothing.
And some people would respond really venomously. Like they would just be really unnecessarily mean.
Wow.
And then I won't name any names on that.
Yeah.
But because a lot of those editors are still working, I think. But I've worked for a few of those editors too.
You have sense, and they probably had no idea.
Yeah, no, I mentioned it to all of them.
Oh, did you? I think that's great.
Well, because you got to call people out when you're a dick. If you're a dick, then you should be informed that you're a dick. Like people inform me I'm a dick if I'm being a dick. That's
so great. Just real quick, that just in this past episode with Jared Safier, he's a producer now, successful, and he had a friend who got some TV series. I won't say what it was, but it was a long time, good friend.
Yeah.
And he got this thing, and then he just kind of became a douche and didn't answer his tag. He just blew him off.
Yeah.
And so that stuff dried up for this guy. And then years later, Jared became a producer, and this guy submitted for some movie that he did, and they actually called him in.
And they were no longer friends at this point? Like that gone south?
Because the actor guy blew him off. So, but Jared actually intentionally called him in to this casting session, sat there and was like, hey, how you doing, man?
Yeah.
And obviously didn't hire him, but I think that's some sweet poetic justice there.
Yeah, I don't want to be
vindictive.
I don't want to be vindictive about it. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to I'm not going to hold there's a couple of people in my career that I hold a grudge against, but maybe 1 or 2 that I really, really hold a grudge against. There's one that I'll still have dreams of occasionally where I'll get
like a non-flashback.
Like, no, I'll just have
there's like helicopters and stuff
about this one particular guy it was a work thing that went it's the worst work experience I've ever had, and I'm not even going to get into it. But the dream though is I'll run into this guy and it's usually at some sort of like a convention setting or something, and which I think is the only place I'd probably ever actually run into him. I run into him. We get in and I just can't. He tries to be friendly, and I just can't take it. And I get in a screaming match with him, and then he challenges me to fight because since the last time he's seen me, he basically says like, I've been waiting for this moment.
Like oh my God. Is he like a Southern gentleman and he slaps you with the leather glove?
No. He's like a
You've offended me, so.
Like a Chinese, Shaolin master or something. Like he's been training in judo and shit.
He started back then, and he has pictures of you around his bedroom, and he like bench presses, crying with opera in the background.
Like that kicking tree dummy thing they have in all the movies with my face on it. But and he's like, I've been waiting for this moment, and I'm going to revenge my honor or whatever, and I'm going to beat the shit out of you with my judo skills. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then we get in a fight, and I just beat the fuck out of him. He can't win. He has no judo skills whatsoever. And I'm just, other than he has what is it, a horse stance or whatever it is?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, monkey or something.
And I've had that dream 20 or 30 times about this guy just like not just being a buffoon. But no, I mean, I've had a fair amount of people in my little life, mainly since I moved to LA, but people who have had a certain amount of success or whatever, or and have kind of tuned out for a while. And I suppose I might have even not trying to be a douche or a dick or anything, but just because like,
well, there's a matter of being busy.
Like there's a certain amount of like, holy shit, like I don't have a moment.
Right.
To do anything. And I got a kid and a wife, and mainly I've had I've had a few people who've got pissed at me because I suddenly wasn't like hanging out
like even more than you did
every weekend
before.
Or whatever. And I'm just like, dude, like I got a fucking kid. Like I get up at 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
I got to get her ready. I had to get my wife's stuff ready. I had to get myself ready. I had to get her to school. My wife's off to work. I'm working as much as I can. I got to go do PTA. I got to do soccer practice.
Yeah.
I mean,
you came here from a soccer game, didn't you?
Yeah, I just came from a soccer game. Like I don't have a fucking moment.
Yeah. Like
Daniel and Daniel Friedman, my writing partner or whatever. Yeah. I mean, we took a break from all this stuff 7 or 8 months ago, and because I'm doing a bunch of drawing stuff right now, and he's doing some other stuff, and I'm gonna have coffee with him on Monday, I think. Mm-hmm. And that'll be the first time I've seen Daniel in probably 6 months. And not because I don't like Daniel or because Daniel and me are on the outs or anything. It's just he's swamped, I'm swamped, and
it's the reality.
At the end of the day, you just don't get a chance to really hang out.
By the way, I'm really good friends with Daniel, and I want to talk about what you guys have done and some of the other stuff and Catacombs and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But real quick, going back for a second, when you say, because I don't know, I don't know the business, but I thought comics were at a peak right now. No,
comics.
I thought that you were saying that there was a boom back in the day, and there's all this money going around, and so it's a different story now.
Well, this is the thing. Comics are probably making, and I think I saw a thing saying that comics are making more money today than they were during the boom. But I'm gonna light this first.
Yeah, please go ahead.
To steady my hands while I talk about this. But
he is shaking like a whore in church right now.
Yeah, exactly. What?
Sorry.
That is a really good is that an analogy? I think that's a really fucking spot on analogy. I'm gonna have to remember that.
I actually stopped you with that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That just completely flummoxed me there, but I think comics are making more money now is what I read, but it's because of the film stuff, and the people on my end of it, which are the guys who are creating the comics. We don't see any of that. I mean, unless we get some kind of like reflection of that in sales because we happen to be on the Avengers when the Avengers book comes out, or when an Avengers movie comes out or something. But when I was a kid, and it's easy to put in really clear. It's easy to make very clear. So I did a few books for DC Comics. They were lousy books. I think they got published. And then I did a book for Image Comics, which is I don't want to give a history lesson on Image Comics, but if you don't know what they are, the Image Comics is now a huge publisher for independent books. But originally they were 7 guys who were the biggest 7 guys at Marvel Comics as far as artists are concerned, that decided to go start their own company because their books were selling such huge numbers at Marvel, like they were doing X-Men and Spider-Man and all the big titles. Their books were doing such huge numbers, they felt that they could do their own books and started their own company and be able to keep all of the profit for themselves. And so that's what they did, and that's what they did. Like, they started this company and they were selling. I remember hearing a story, and this is a story I've never asked Jim if it's true or not, but I remember hearing a story about Jim Lee, who drew X-Men, and he's doing Batman and Superman now. I think he runs part of DC. And he was one of the guys who went off and founded Image, and he has a studio called Wildstorm and Homage and whatever. And I remember hearing a story that he got a call a few months after he'd left Marvel, because you get a royalty check every 4 or 5 months or 6 months, whatever.
Oh, is it that infrequent?
Well, I guess if you're probably doing a book a month, you're probably getting them more relative quicker. But I think I get all my stuff stacked up in I think I get 3 a year. Like, I think 4 a year. I think they're quarterly.
Must be a nice surprise to get that then, out of the blue.
Yeah, I mean, you get a few $100 or whatever it is. But
really,
but he was getting, I think the check that they called him to say we had this check and we lost it. It had fallen behind a filing cabinet. We were moving offices or something. We found this check. That's yours, and it's a royalty check, and we just never sent it out to you. And we'll, give us your address or info, and we'll send it to you now. And it was a check for something like, in the story I heard, it was something like $200,000 or $300,000.
Jesus.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, just drop it in the mail. It'll come at the same address and everything like that." And in my mind, I was like, if I had lost a fucking check for $200,000 or $300,000, like, I would have been on the phone a lot.
Yeah,
I would have been like, dude, have you found the check? Like, move the filing cabinet. Maybe it fell behind the filing cabinet.
Please look behind the cabinet.
And I know when they were doing, like, their first books at Image, they were doing, 2-3 million print runs.
It's not like
and
that
they're
anymore
seeing
so much?
$1 off of each book.
Oh my God.
Kind of thing, and so when I did my first book for Image, we sold. I was really excited. I got a huge page rate. I was 17, maybe 18 at that point. And I was doing, these. I didn't know how to draw. I was awful. But I'm doing these pages. I'm getting like $600 a page or something like that. It's huge. I was doing a page every 2 days, and so
nice
for an 18-year-old kid with no real expenses. That's pretty great. And then the book came out. And I got a call from, the FOC, the orders were all done. And I got a call from the publisher, who was a friend, and he was like, "Dude, I'm sorry, man. The book just didn't sell. It didn't perform, so we're gonna shit can it." And I was like, "Oh no! Like, what were the numbers?" Like, feeling like I just failed everybody in the world. And he's like, "It only sold 350,000 copies." And I was like, "Oh my God! What? How could I show my face?"
Wow.
And he's like, "I'll send you a check, for your royalty on that." Because for them, they get the stuff immediately, and it was a small thing, and so they would just send you out a check because they knew.
To me, that seems like a lot of copies, a big run.
Well, yeah, and they sent me a check for nearly $20,000, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm a failure."
Wow.
I was like, I am sitting there. I remember being in my studio, holding this fucking check for, it was like $22,000 or something, and almost being like teary-eyed, thinking like, I'm a total failure.
I'm done.
I've just blown it. Like, I've completely failed. And my dad was there at the time, and he's like, "Dude, you got a check in your hand for $20,000 for 6 weeks worth of work, like beyond what you were paid to do the actual book. The $600 a page or whatever." It's like there's no way in fucking hell you should feel like you've just killed it. Like, you've done really, really, really good.
So fast forward to today. What would that be in a similar thing? Like,
well,
or would there even be?
We did Undying Love, Daniel and I, for Image 3-4 years ago now. And with our first issue, Image was really happy. They were like, "You guys did great. This is wonderful. It's a good quality book, and the first issue's numbers are really good, and we got a reorder and this and that, and so you guys should feel great. And that book sold, I want to say it sold 11,000 copies.
Wow. What happened?
Well,
It's just for whatever reason the popularity of
the internet happened, video games
just
happened.
Everything. Okay.
I mean, at that time when I was young, it was an issue where the card market, like the baseball cards and stuff like that, had collapsed because oversaturation, just like, people buying thousands of copies of every card, thinking that at some point in the future they're going to retire when they sell their baseball card collection, and not understanding that if you have 5 million people in a collecting something, and every one of those 5 million people, or if 3 million out of those 5 million people take all of those baseball cards and they put them in a safety deposit box, locked up and perfectly stored so they'll never bend or warp or whatever, that no matter when you eventually decide to sell that stuff, it's going to be worthless because there's 3 million perfect copies of it out there.
Right. There's nothing
the reason,
too special about it.
The reason Ty Cobb cards sell for $1 million or $500,000 a piece is because there's only 7 of them in existence.
Right.
Most of them are really fucked up. But and that's what happened. So when that collapsed, all those people came over to comics, and they were thinking that their comics, because at that time I think a Superman #1 had sold for $1 million or something like that. And so everybody's thinking that they're going to collect comics and eventually be able to retire and put their kids through school and move to the south of France or whatever. And the same thing happened. Like, you have these people that are buying 20 or 30 copies of each book, and they're putting them in plastic bags and boards, and they're storing them in these perfect conditions so they'll never be damaged. And the next thing you know, like, the books are there's an immediate bounce because, like, a book comes out and everybody goes and rushes and buys it. And so if you go on the second day to buy it, it's sold out and you can't get it. And so there was like an immediate resale market where, like, within a few weeks of the book coming out, or even a few months, you could sell something at a really inflated price where you bought it for $2 and you can now sell it for $20. But a few years into that, 4 or 5 years into that, everybody realized that this shit's worthless. It's not even, it's literally not worth the amount of money you paid for it.
Wow.
And so the market collapsed. And so you don't have, I've been lucky enough to continue working through that and still work on pretty good titles and have a pretty okay career. But I also do a lot of, like, toy design stuff and video games and TV and movie stuff, like design work, and I was trying to do that stuff all along, and I did storyboards for a long time and stuff like that. And so I've never been a full-time comic book guy because it's
everything's spread out.
Yeah, and it's just, being a full-time comic book guy, it's really hard. And, like, I'm not a guy who draws super fast I'm not a guy who's going to have, like, all the little kids lined up to buy my drawings because they tend to be scary and violent.
Right.
And so, but a lot of guys just got bounced. Just got driven out of the industry because when I got my first job, it was like, if you could hold a pencil and imitate Jim Lee or Rob Liefeld or these different guys that were making, selling all these books, then you could get a job. But then as soon as the market collapsed and all those jobs disappeared or contracted, you couldn't get a job drawing like Jim Lee or Rob Liefeld because it was passé, and B, there was already those guys doing that work. So why do they need you to imitate it if they could just hire those guys?
Right. But you've worked for, like, you've done with all the big ones, DC, Marvel, and
DC, Marvel, Image, Dark Horse,
all of them.
I don't know who else, but all the big publishers. Yeah.
What famous characters have you done? Basically,
DC, I never did many famous characters because I think I did Batman once or twice in other books.
That's huge.
But I never did Batman. I think I did a book called Monolith, and Batman guest starred in it. But for the most part at DC, I was doing stuff that was, like, creator owned. So it was stuff that didn't interact with it was like a new title that was not part of the DC universe or whatever. These are nerdy terms. The DCU. Is it going?
It is now. Sorry, guys. I have to admit to you. All right. And this is the second try, by the way. So my recorder crapped out in the middle of our talk. We were trying to come up with something clever. Got nothing. Anyway, we're going to try to take over where we left off. We were talking about who were drawn from Marvel and all these famous characters. And then we were talking about you're basically not your mentor, but the guys that you looked up to, the artists that you looked up to the most, and how you trying to emulate them. You can never really do that. And you were talking about like some like.
No, I was just mainly trying to talk about like how when I worked on the Avengers stuff, the person that the last time I read an Avengers book was probably 25 years ago. It was like John Buscema, like these people who created the look of how comics work today, and these guys that were really considered, visionary geniuses that were that are still like beyond compare as far as the work they produced. And when I was drawing the Avengers, I would draw these pictures, and I would just think like it became a huge hindrance to me because I couldn't. I couldn't just say, okay, that's good enough, or that's a well drawn picture or whatever, because it wasn't the way I saw the Avengers in my mind. Because as a kid, I remembered these other guys, doing these iconic poses and these iconic characters and these iconic scenes and situations and the costumes and all this kind of shit.
You felt like it didn't measure up?
Yeah, and it just wasn't. It wasn't.
I was just saying, put your mic up closer to you. You don't have a booger on your shirt.
It was the same. I thought I might have set myself on fire. It just didn't have the same whatever. And people, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm extra sensitive with that shit because I just like. I really, really, really like studied all this shit and like really.
Did you try to actually draw the same things that they drew, because that's like the old school, like, and I'm sure they still do it. I'm not an expert on this, but like with painters, when they would study the masters and they would
repaint them.
Yeah, exactly. Did you do the same?
Well, when I was a kid, I mean, I would draw those pictures, or I would draw. There's various dozens of different artists that you would try and emulate or imitate or rip off or whatever, ape. And the funny thing is, like, there's anymore, that's not a huge problem. I mean, I don't ape anybody or anything like that. I mean, there's people I look at or there's people I seek out for inspiration, but I don't imitate or ape or rip anybody off anymore. But there are still people like that I can't look at, like people that are close enough to what I do or were big enough influences on me when I was a kid that I actually can't look at their work today while I'm working because it will just
it fucks you up.
It'll derail me. Like, wow. I'll just be like, oh no, I'm gonna suddenly start drawing hands like, I don't know, Duncan Fegredo or
that's fascinating,
or draw Mike Mignola setups or whatever, and it's so I just don't. There's like a handful of guys that I just literally don't look at because I still buy their books. I just keep them in a box until
that's
I'm
interesting.
not working, and then I can look at them.
When I used to act a lot more, I had a very similar idea where like if it was like some bad sitcom mom or something, I'd be like, oh yeah, I feel like it was gonna rub off on me or something. I felt like I didn't want to watch it. You know what I mean? Like it felt like it would fuck me up somehow.
Well, I don't. Oh, go ahead.
And I was just, I was just thinking like how, and I'm not a big. I mean, I liked comics like all kids did. I'm not a big comic guy, but there were a few things that had an impact on me as a kid. I just thought it just kind of blew my mind. And I'm embarrassed that I can't remember his name. I think it's Frank something. He's the guy that did all not Frank Miller. The guy, or maybe it's not Frank, but it's an Italian name. He did all those fantasy like Conan kind of art. You'd see like a guy with a battle axe and like
Frazetta. Frank Frazetta.
Yeah,
that dude's a badass.
Yeah, I remember seeing like So I remember seeing his stuff like it might be some guy's house or something. An older kid or something might have a poster or something on the wall, and just thinking like, Wow, you know what it was? Is it's like this is I guess as a kid I would say it's a cartoon because I didn't know what else to call it.
Yeah,
but it was like adult, man. It was sexual and
there
violent and like
awesome women.
Yeah, and it was incredible
and great looking like rustic dudes and like all this kind of shit.
And then along a similar note, I saw an animated movie called Wizards when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, that's
Ralph Bakshi.
Ralph Bakshi did the animation, but he passed away a long time ago. Von Baudet. I just actually bought all of that stuff again.
Oh really?
All the Cheech Wizard and Cobalt 60 and all the different books he did.
It blew my mind as a kid. I probably shouldn't have seen it as a kid. Actually, and it was violent and like everything. And
Fire and Ice was the
Fire and Ice
Frazetta one.
Right. And then on a little more of a tame note, but there was a kind of like a anime series when I was a kid, and it was a cereal, and it was called Star Blazers.
I love Star Blazers.
You know Star Blazers?
Big old battleship that floats through space.
Yeah. I actually got a few of the DVD. I had to for nostalgia's sake, but it was this thing where and it was only playing in a few markets. I found out later, a handful of years ago. It was just like in Seattle and Boston and like Dallas and a couple other markets. Like it wasn't all over the country.
I saw it in Northern Cal when I was a kid. Yeah.
Okay, so it was a handful of places, but they would. It was literally like an old school cereal. I could get up in the morning before school, eat a bowl of cereal, and they'd be like, they were on a mission to save the earth, and be like, "There's only 283 days left."
Yeah, it was a big ticking clock, and it was always like Earth on the last episode.
Yeah, exactly. And but people actually died in it.
Yeah,
in a cartoon,
in the fighter ships and stuff.
I'd never seen that in a cartoon before, and I just thought, and I would spend all day in school drawing these things, and I would even have dreams about it. I was so into. I mean, just the idea. It felt like that they respected kids in a way. It's not like.
They were much more. They were much more like developed stories than just He-Man or whatever bullshit.
Right.
And I remember there was a book called Alien Legion by Frank Sirocco, who I loved as a kid, but and that was the first comic I ever got where it was kind of like about a Marine Corps, but in space in the future, or something that sounds equally ridiculous.
Before, they had Space Marines and Star Blazers too.
Yeah, they did. I
always wondered if James Cameron got that from that.
And then they killed a guy about 8 or 9 or 10 issues in. They killed one of the main characters, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like they killed a guy.
Right.
Like, how does that happen? Like he's dead. Like he's not just
Wile E. Coyote or something.
And he didn't get like zapped into a parallel universe or something like they would do in an X-Men book or something. Like he got blown in half. Like he's dead.
Yeah,
those are entrails. Like he's not gonna come back from that.
Right.
Frazetta's one of those guys. Like I don't draw anything like Frazetta. The stuff that the only Frazetta to me is kind of like Bernie Wrightson is to me, where he was a generation before. Those were the guys that influenced the guys that influenced me.
Okay,
does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
He was the guy before the generation before the guys I was looking at.
So I would say, for example, in like movie terms, like the French New Wave influenced guys like Scorsese and all these guys in the 70s,
exactly.
Coppola and those guys, and
exactly.
And they influenced guys like Tarantino.
Yeah, like the Melvilles and all those guys from France that were doing all those great the movies. We were seeing the second a second reiteration of that for the American stuff, but there's still times though. So the guys I was looking at, I was getting any Frazetta or Kirby or Wrightson that I was getting was coming secondhand through somebody else. But every once in a while, when I sit down to draw women, if I want to draw a sexy woman, Frazetta is the only thing I can think of. And I always just think like, okay, I'm going to just draw a sexy woman, and then I inevitably try and make it look like a Frazetta woman. And when he did them, they were like these voluptuous, amazing, like big butts and like full, bodied, amazing, like barbarian women or whatever. And when I draw them, they just look like kind of out of shape, flabby, like women you would see at a 7-Eleven at 2 o'clock in the morning in a pair of skinny or short shorts or something. But I mean, there's a lot of guys like that are just you just can't touch them. I mean, there's people who will spend their entire career just imitating those dudes, and you
can never, like you were saying when we got cut off earlier, we were talking about how you can't.
well, you're never going to add up. I mean, you're never going to be equal to any of those guys. You're never going to be. There's no one who, no matter how successful you are, how big you are, how great you are, like you can never say you're Frazetta. Just like we were saying when the stuff that didn't get recorded, like if you're a band, like you can't ever say that you're as good or better than or more successful or more influential than the Beatles or Michael Jackson or the Stones or whoever. Because like those people, Elvis and like Marvin Gaye and Otis Redding, all these different people that like created the world of music that we enjoy, they did it first, and they did it completely on their own, and in this weird way that in the social hierarchy of like, when you think of bands, you don't think of, there are certain names that are just bigger than the industry, or bigger than they are bigger than anybody around today is ever going to be.
Like they've taken on their own life almost.
Yeah, they've become something that you just can't compare yourself to, and if you do, you're an asshole. You know, I mean, if you say, yeah, we're better than the Beatles, then you're an asshole. And whether you are better than the Beatles, or that has really no bearing at all. It doesn't mean anything. It just means like there's a certain I mean, there's a lot of painters that I look at that are painters that are considered some of the best that have ever lived, and I think I look at some of the paintings and I'm just like, yeah, that's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah,
you know, that's a good weekend's worth of work.
Wow.
But because they did it the way they did it, they mean something, and if I were to do it, it wouldn't, you know. So that's just I meet people who are influenced by what I did and or what I do, and they're these kids that are like, you know, in their 20s or whatever. And
what is that like, by the way? I mean,
it's really unsettling.
Is it?
Well, it's just weird because you're just like, I always tell every one of them, I'm like, dude, don't look at what I do. Like, what I do is just derivative of what these guys did. Go look at these guys. Like, they did it. When I talk to people who are that are really good, and I'm not trying to include myself in that group, but like, I talk to people that are really amazing at what they do, as far as this drawing stuff, the comics and whatever, and it seems like everybody who's developed their own style, you do over time, you kind of develop your own way of doing shit. Initially, that style comes about because you're trying to figure out how to work around the things that you can't figure out or that are beyond your ability, that the people you're looking at as influences are doing. And so I always tell people, like, my style is just a collection of all the things, all the shortcomings I had when I was trying to figure out how to draw like these other guys. And eventually all those little shortcomings added up to me doing what I do and creating my own way of doing things. But if you really want to know how to do this stuff, go look at the guys I was looking at. Don't look at my shit, because it's just a mess. And it's a mess in the sense, like, it's not those other guys. Those guys are just, they're the top of the pops. Like, you can't, you know.
Right, and always will be.
Yeah, they'll always be more important than what I'm doing. At least in my mind, they will be. Because they were better at it, or they were more important to the industry.
And you know, by the way, this is not too off subject. I'm going to bring this back a little bit, but you know some successful musicians as well. Didn't you grow up with some guys from the Deftones or something like that, or do you know from Tool or something? Didn't you know some
Deftones? Stefan, and who? I mean, I was really, really close as a kid with Stefan, and the other guys we all knew and hung out, and they rode bikes. They were all into like freestyle BMX stuff and skateboards.
Which I was too. That was huge in the 80s.
No, we all were.
Yeah.
And I think Stefan and I played guitar a few times and whatever, but I think the last time I saw Stefan was maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, when we were a few blocks apart, and we were all part of the same gang when we were kids, or gang of kids. Mm-hmm. And I went back to the house that I'd grown up in. We owned that house, and I was doing a bunch of work to it, and I was staying there while I was doing the work and trying to get it ready to inhabit or rent or sell or whatever it was going to end up being. And I'm sitting out there on the porch, like gardening in the patio or some shit. And Stephen Carpenter rides by on his fucking like mongoose or something on his BMX.
A super goose.
I'm just like, whoa, like that's Stephen. And he's like, hey, that's Tom. And so we chatted for, I don't know, half hour. And I mean, I would see him pretty often riding around. He'd have his guitar on his back and his travel bag. And this is, I mean, the Deftones they were at the biggest point they were at that point. And Stephen's still scooting around on his
So
BMX
what do you think? And this is where I was getting with that too. Then that's actually kind of funny that you said that. But so you know him, for example, and you know a lot of other really good artists. And is there anything? Do you feel like there's any kind of anything similar, some sort of a through line with these guys, whether it's just sort of how they see things, or whether it's a work ethic? Or
I think it's work ethic. I think it's
yeah.
I don't believe in talent. I don't believe in God-given any bullshit. I think. Like, I know that when my girlfriend got pregnant and I decided I got to do this, I started going to this. Part of it was a comic shop opened up a few blocks from where my house was at that time, and so I started thinking, I need to draw, and then going up there, and there were other guys there that drew, who I became really good friends with, and still some of them I'm working with them every day still, and I would go there every day because I got out of high school early. I got out when I was right around the time around the time she got pregnant. I got out of high school. I took all my tests and got out. Mm-hmm. And because I always knew I wanted to draw, I just didn't know what. And so I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to just draw and paint and learn how to do that stuff. And I was going to City College and taking classes from the time I was like in 5th grade, I think. And so, and I was like, I don't want to go to high school anymore. I want to just go to do art classes and go to art school. And so I
Did you do that, by the way? Not to change the subject, but did you actually go to an art school? Or?
No, I went to the Academy of Art for 2 semesters, and I had, there was talk of me getting a scholarship to go to Art Center over in Pasadena, which is where I wanted to go, because of my figure drawing classes and stuff, the portfolio I'd put together. But I was like 19 then, and I was already been working for a couple of years, and I had a kid, so I had real, something I needed to take care of.
That's where I met Daniel Friedman, ironically enough, at Art Center, and he bailed out of there too. Well,
yeah, and so I never ever got to actually pursue the any of the Art Center stuff, but I was drawing. I mean, every day I drew every day, all day. Even when I was a kid, and there was no pregnancy or son or anything like that to worry about, I drew all the time, and because I knew this is I've known what I wanted to do since I was a little teeny kid, and
so there you go. That's it. And I'm sure that's the same with all these guys with whatever they do.
Yeah, I think every one of us had to sit there and you practice guitar, or you practice drawing, or you do whatever you're doing, or you're bike riding or whatever, and
every day,
and you do it. I mean, Daniel Friedman and I, he read some book, and I forget what it's called. It's the Secret, or no, the game. It's some fucking book that everybody read for a couple years there, where it's like, to become a master at something, to be considered a master at something, you have to put in
the 10,000 hour thing. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, let's figure out how many hours I put in. And Daniel and I are sitting there, and so I was like, okay, I've drawn. I said, I won't count any drawing I did before my girlfriend got pregnant. So I'll say from the time I've been 16, I've drawn every day at least 6 hours.
Wow.
And that's not really true, because like in the last 15 years, I mean, I get up and start working. I'm working by 8:30 every morning, if not 7:30, and I quit working at around 6 at night every day. And then there's a lot of times when I'll work until 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 or whatever. I don't do all-nighters anymore.
So there's no mystery to this. You bust your ass.
Yeah, you fucking work your ass off, and eventually you get better at it. If you don't get better at it, then there's something really wrong with you, or you're lying. You're not really doing the work.
Right.
But we did all this calculations, and it was something like I'd put in like 75 or 80,000 hours or something like that.
Jesus.
And I was like, oh, like that's why you get good at something. And I'm not even, there's every day I have moments where I'm like, oh, I wish I knew what I was doing right now.
And Daniel, who is primarily a writer, and he's directing more, I know for a fact he writes every single fucking day too. He gets up,
you do it
as a discipline and writes every day for I don't know how many hours.
That's why they say like writers write and artists draw or they paint or whatever, you know. And I really do think that drawing is the underpinning. Like if you don't know how to draw, or you haven't studied life drawing, I mean that's really. When I was, after I did those early books after a couple of years, I quit for a year or two to just learn how to draw because I didn't want to draw like anybody else anymore, and that was all drying up. And so I just went back to. I just took figure drawing classes at school, the local, city college, or community college, or whatever,
Right.
and just take the nude figure drawing. I did it I was doing 2 classes a semester for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, and then I would keep doing I'd do at least 1 class a semester for probably 7 or 8 years after that. I would just go 2 or 3 times a week and draw whoever they had standing up there, and you'd learn how to do it.
I mean, I really love that you talked about this because it's one of those things where, people, they see someone like you, or you wouldn't say that about yourself. One of these guys that you mentioned, they didn't just come out the chute and fucking draw like that, or whatever it is, or play the guitar like that, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, or sing or paint.
And it doesn't come
whatever.
from dicking around with it on weekends here and there for a year. It's like you really have to work.
And you study it. Like
Every aspect.
But it's just like building that building we were talking about the guy fell off of yesterday. Like, that fucking guy didn't wake up yesterday and just say, like, I'm going to build a building. Like, the person who's building that they know what they're doing because they've went to school for it and studied it and they've done it and they've learned how you design and construct and realize, one of the tallest buildings in the world. And that's the same thing for us. Like, you don't, like, you have to learn how anatomy works. You have to learn how space works and how volume works and how just the instruments, work. And I know a lot of guys who, like a lot of the guys I grew up drawing with or doing whatever with, mainly art stuff though, they would reach a certain point, and they were all better than me at some time because they were all older than I was. But then they would hit a certain point where people really liked what they did, and all the girls or parents or whoever it was would be like, "Oh, you can draw so great," or whatever. I don't know, bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And will you draw me Betty Boop or Garfield or whatever? Bubble letters, my name.
Yeah, exactly.
And
with a little circle for the eye dot.
Yeah. And that's what they achieved, and they felt good with that, and that they stopped right there because it was to go to the next level of ability or
they plateaued and they didn't push through it.
It gets harder and harder to keep getting better and pushing yourself and learning and because eventually, like, you start out and you're competing with your siblings, and then you're competing with your classroom, and then you're competing with the whole school, and then you're competing with the other people that are the best in their school are now in one spot and they're all competing. But eventually, like, I don't really think of myself as competing because I just do what I do, but in a way, like, I'm competing with, the very best people in the world that do this. Like, it's not there's no charity in this bullshit. Like, nobody's going to buy my book because they feel bad for me that I'm not as good as somebody else. Like, you have, or because they're my mom or something.
Right.
Like, people buy your book because it's good.
Right.
And so at a certain point, you're competing with, the very top people that do this in the entire world. And if you aren't willing to put in the work or bring your A game or whatever other dumbass
analogy or whatever
what I'm trying to say, the cliche
right. Somebody else will, essentially.
Somebody else will, yeah, and you're done. That's it, and so everybody, I mean, either they did that, I only know one other guy from when I was a kid who did, and we work together every day right now, but I'm in awe of him. I think his work is amazing, and I remember meeting him as a 14 or 15-year-old kid, and I was 17 or 18 at the time. I think I just started working, and like I'd been working for a year or two or something, and now I look at his work and I'm just blown away because he busts his ass and to get good at it.
Yeah. There's a motto from the SEALs. There's like a training motto of theirs that I think is really cool. That reminds me of. I used to actually have printed out once, and it's was it do today what others won't, do tomorrow what others can't. So you can do tomorrow what others can't.
Yes.
So that's sort of what you're doing.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
You're getting up at 7:30 and you're working all fucking day. You're not like dabbling around with it here and there on a peachy.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly. I don't go to Starbucks and sit there and talk to strangers about all the great books I'm going to eventually draw.
Right.
Or I don't get online and just bitch about it.
Right.
Like I just do it. And but I see, that's one of the things I like about Facebook because I see so many people that are, and it lets me know how fortunate I am because there's a lot of guys. I mean, there's a few guys I see on Facebook where I'm just like, God damn, like, I'm glad you're not more popular because I would be out of a job like you are. Some of these people, and I don't know if it's because they're from far off foreign countries or because maybe they're doing books that I just don't see because they're not, I'm not privy to that market or whatever, but, or maybe there's something about what they do that just doesn't translate into them getting more work. But man, some of these people are so good, and I have no idea why they're not drawing every book that comes out because they're, or
there's
at least
a lot
drawing
of
a
variables
book
in
that comes out. And there's so many variables that it makes me realize how fortunate I am that I've been able to.
We've talked about this in former episodes, like with Brian Larkin. He's an actor. He was in that London Has Fallen movie, that one with Gerard Butler, and he's been at it for like 14 years, and he finally got. I mean, he's worked and done things, but this is sort of his biggest thing. And we were talking about how, I guess that translated into every art world, but particularly I know in film, it's not a meritocracy necessarily. Like,
no.
In his case, he worked hard and he's really talented and he got there, and I love it when that happens, but sometimes that's not always the case. Sometimes people, it's just not always the case. People succeed and, and God bless them for succeeding, but you might find a guy on some stage in a community theater in Idaho is like a Brando level.
Yeah, he's working the corn palace.
But he's up there, or he's not, whatever reason, maybe he's too shy to get out of the business world a little bit.
Maybe he got married young with kids or whatever. There's a million different reasons. He had to stay home because to help with the farm or some shit.
So that happens. That does happen. So there's a lot, as far as business success, that's a whole, but I mean, obviously it helps to be as good as you can. I mean, one thing's for sure is you can't be horrible. Well,
there's always nepotism, which is alive and well. But yeah, I mean, you got to be committed, and you got to be good, and you got to sacrifice, and you have to put in the work, and then you have to be able to. I mean, the bitch, like with comics, you don't talk to many people, like I've worked with people. And you see them once a year at a show, or you talk to them a couple times on the phone, but mainly you're shooting emails back and forth, and they're short, brief, like emails like "sounds good," or like "will do,"
right?
But when I started doing a lot of the film stuff, where I had to, and it wasn't like work for hire stuff, it was like going in and about writing and producing and or directing and whatever different kind of stuff, where you're like you're the point man that has to get this thing up and going. And Daniel and I had a couple of, big things we did that we wrote and produced and directed from top to bottom, or things, like I did a couple little movie things or whatever. And not only do you have to be good, but you also have to be able to, be good and be able to sell it.
Yeah.
And that's fucking hard.
Yeah. That's a perfect example of what I meant, though. Like,
it's so hard.
It's a whole different. I mean, business and art. I mean, that's always been the weird. There's always been a weird headbutt thing with that. But it's. I mean, it's necessary if you want to eat. I mean, you can, and if you want to be really good. I mean, it's just the way it is.
But it's also like I was in bands a lot growing up as a kid. I always did art and stuff. And like, if you're drawing a picture, like you can show the picture to someone, and they're like, "Oh, that's really good." And that's about as much time as you need to convey whether or not they should hire you. It's like, oh, those are really good. I'll hire you.
Right.
Or if you're in a band, and you're playing a venue, it only takes 15 or 20 or 30 seconds for the audience to decide, oh, this is someone I'm going to stick around and watch, or I'm going to go to the bar now and try and meet chicks and get out into the parking lot to neck or something. And
did you say neck, by the way?
Yeah, neck.
Okay.
Because I'm 800 years old. And
I think I heard that on Happy Days last night.
I can remember necking on the Ark.
Anyway, go ahead.
With my sister, because it was all about incest and genocide. So
he draws happy pictures.
Yes. But camels are hell of a neckers. They're good. But with the pitch stuff or writing and then trying to sell that stuff, like a lot of it is not about, because you can't just hand someone a script or a manuscript and be like, what do you think? Like, they got to go read it and they got to go, and it's hard and it's boring and it takes time and energy and you'd rather be doing something else. And so then you have to get this like dancing monkey kind of dog and pony show bullshit. And they judge you based on that. Like, they want to judge you. Like, if you can get them laughing and get them to say yes in the room, then you're golden. And that just was the opposite of what I'd done my entire life. Like, I would be able to just say, like, look, I drew this picture. It's really good. Like, okay, hire me to draw more.
You're talking specific. You're talking now. You're talking about pitching.
Stuff,
pitching.
Yeah.
Okay.
The film stuff, and eventually, like, I did that movie for Lionsgate called Catacombs, which was a disaster, but a great learning experience. Which I've had enough fucking learning experiences in my life. But it was a great one. And after that, I did 6, 7, 8 months of just like every month we'd do like a solid week where it would just be, you'd do a pitch before lunch and a pitch after lunch and a pitch before lunch and a pitch after lunch, or a pitch in the morning and a pitch in the afternoon and then a pitch in the evening or whatever. And you learn how to be, which I don't know if this interview is probably not reflecting any of this, but you learn how to be like sharp and witty and to the point and charming and all of that bullshit you need to be, or you learn whatever you learn your persona.
Right.
You figure out what your persona is, and if it's I'm the guy that makes you laugh and chuckle and you want to work with me because I'm a cool guy, or maybe I'm the asshole that's artistic and you want to work with me because I'm aloof and better than you are or something. Whatever that thing is that you, at a certain point you realize, okay, this is my in the room persona and this is how I sell stuff.
And the shitty part about that too is, most artists in general, I'm just making this is generalization, but I'm going to say a majority of, when you're talking about writers or guys who draw or what, I mean, these are solitary art forms. Yeah. They're not necessarily like,
not team sports,
right? But I mean, they're not always, like how do you say it? I mean, it's a completely this social aspect, this sort of, I don't want to say bullshitting, but this sort of salesmanship, and that's not bullshit. I mean, that's just a fact. Yeah. It's not something that a lot of artists are necessarily adept at or used to. So it's really tough when you have to be great at both.
But it kind of goes back to the other thing where you have to get good at it. Like you have to work at it and practice at it. Like, I remember I was pitching something to MTV a long time back, and to MTV Films over on the Paramount lot. And I pitched a development exec, or maybe it was a VP of development, I can't remember. There's like a million VPs of development. But, and I got him to love it, and then I went and pitched his higher up, and he loved it. So they brought in the guy who was the head of the studio at the time, and who had to say yes to stuff, or he was the second in command, I guess. And I won't use his name, but I know later I heard people calling him the comedian because he doesn't laugh, he doesn't express any emotion or any.
Oh, but that
like
was
in
fun.
Meetings, he's just like a
poker face, like
a busted Lincoln. Like he's just like a marble.
That's horrible.
You might as well be pitching the chair,
Right.
And he just ripped me to shreds. Didn't even do anything. Just because I didn't get any reactions out of him, I just lost.
You crumbled.
Yeah.
You imploded. Exactly.
I just lost my way and started doubling back and like whatever. And by the end of it, it was just like, I'm really sorry that you had to come here on this rainy evening. Eventually you get good at it, and now you can go and I can go in a room and like you just flip a switch and suddenly you're like, I'm happy, funny
Right.
Tom, and whatever. And,
Right.
And
Do you plan on doing more of that? By the way, that's what I was going. Are you? I mean, we've talked
movie
and-
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked at length in private, about a lot of these experiences that you've had with this, and you and Daniel have had with your scripts and some of these things, and had some success and lots of huge ups and downs, to say the least. But so, is this something that you plan on recouping and continuing with, or do you think you want to just?
I don't know the answer to that, right? I mean, there are times when I think yes, and I'm like, let's go, and I'm excited and ready to embark on that little journey again. And then there are other times where I'm just like, there's nothing in the world that could convince me I should pursue film in any way, shape, or form. And like I did Catacombs and some other, I did other things here and there, and it's I loved doing Catacombs. Like it was super fun to work with the actors and the crew and even the producers. I think I had a good relationship with those guys. But at the end of the day, there are so many people involved that it's like a
runaway train in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, and if one person jumps the tracks or doesn't do their part or drops the ball or you miss something and you mess up or something, whatever it might be, you might not even notice. It's like almost like this ripple effect where you might not even notice that it happened at the moment, but then 2 months later or 3 months later or whatever, you're suddenly like, oh my God, we're in so much trouble because
Right. Like if you're aiming towards the moon with the rocket and you
Yes.
nudge it a millimeter,
yeah,
right
you miss
here,
by a few
you're gonna
degrees, you're going to end up on fucking Mars,
Right,
and you're
right.
in a lot of trouble. But and with comics, I can sit down and do everything by myself, and it doesn't cost any money, and it's I can do. It's unlimited budget, and it's just whatever my imagination can get on the page, and
Right.
and that's really, really awesome. But at
Yeah.
the same time, there's the doing the film stuff. Is there's other different allures to that. Like I mean, and also a big one is just I've done it 3 or 4 times now, and I've directed one feature and for a studio, and I don't think I've got it right yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think you look at Catacombs, and I think David and I, David Elliott, who was my partner on that, I think we got a lot of stuff right, and we did a lot of really neat things, and I think we did a lot of really different things that you hadn't seen before. And I think there's also, if you could watch the film and not watch the bad, low quality video output from Final Cut, I think it was, because I think it's like an MP3 or something that's on the DVD. It's like a really low budget,
Oh, wow.
low res. It looks like we shot on our iPhones. But if you see the actual 35 millimeter print, it's amazing.
Is there any way that anybody can do it?
Nope,
Oh,
not a way, not a chance in hell. But you can. But there's a lot of really neat and beautiful stuff about it. But as a film, it just doesn't. It doesn't add up to be a good movie.
And the real shitter about that is like, obviously, almost everybody has to fall on their ass when they're trying to figure that shit out, and you learn as you go. But when you make a feature, and you're talking about, oh, there's a ghetto bird.
Yep.
Look for that to pass. So when you make a feature, and there's so much money on the line and so many irons in the fire, it's often hard, unless you're doing it completely on your own, when you're talking about a studio feature particularly, to get another crack at it.
Well, and we got screwed in a lot of ways that weren't our. If you've never seen the movie, I don't know if I recommend seeing it, but if you can get your hands on the DVD, I think I'm pretty positive Netflix has it. Or you can probably get it for $0.25 on any website, like a discount website or something. But the director's commentary, I guess David and I did a director's commentary, and we give you all the we go the whole commentary is just explaining why the film turned out the way it did, and it's pretty funny and I think and elucidating, I guess, but like our producer died when we were in post-production into post-production. We just got our assembly cut together when he passed away suddenly.
Wasn't he the guy that did Saw?
Yeah, Greg. Yeah. Greg Hoffman.
I remember that.
And he died really suddenly, and that just killed us dead. I mean, that's a bad choice of words there, but his death basically just stopped us 100% as a production. But then also we were so we were only $1.5 million, I think. And so we cost so little that they could just suck it up and just say, well, just dump it to DVD and sell some foreign rights. And
that's what happened.
What's it matter? If we'd been a $20 million film, then they would have had to put us out because they couldn't absorb that loss.
Right.
But being a $1.5 million film, and honestly, Lionsgate didn't want to put out Saw. They did everything in their power to bury that movie.
Wow.
And because they just didn't think it was going to be a success. And so when Greg died, Greg was the mastermind behind Saw, and they were terrified because Saw had made I think Saw 2 was out when he passed away. And they made so much money. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars. And they knew that Greg was the guy behind those movies. And so when he passed away, they were terrified that they'd lost their Saw cash cow, and so they immediately dove into doing Saw 3, and we just literally were forgot about for like 7 or 8 months until someone called us and they're like, "Hey, I'm on the floor at some hotel room in Cannes for the festival, and I see they're selling the video rights to your movie."
I found it behind the file cabinet.
Yeah, you're selling Catacombs video rights to like Lithuania or something like that, and you're like, "Oh, we're screwed." But so there was a lot that was just beyond our control with that, and it'd be nice to do something
where you can control it a little bit.
Yeah, where you don't have to. I remember one of the producers who didn't read the script until he was on the plane over and to Romania where we shot it at, and he stayed with us for a week over there to keep an eye on us. And when he got there, he was like, your hero is a bit of a downer.
Oh no!
He took us out to dinner, David and I. He's like, our hero's a bit of a downer, and I just don't think anybody's going to get behind a downer hero.
So can't he have like a dog that flies or something?
Well, yeah. So she was like, you need to cut this scene, cut this scene, cut this scene, and we're like, dude, we already filmed half of those scenes, and if we haven't filmed those specific scenes, I think it was 4 scenes out of the first 7 scenes. I think it was something like that. So if we haven't filmed those scenes, we've filmed the scene on either side of those scenes.
Yeah, and that wasn't enough to.
And so he was like, "Yeah, well, I know we're supposed to go to Paris, or there's a chance we might be able to go to Paris for a week to shoot, exteriors and everything after this, and take the actresses and shoot some stuff on the streets, so we can actually be in Paris, because otherwise we weren't going to go to Paris. So if you want to go to Paris, you're gonna cut those scenes." And we were just like, all right, we'll figure it out,
Wow.
And in hindsight, like there's a lot of things that the film should have, the film's needed here and there, but in hindsight, like I can see how those arbitrary decisions were absolutely detrimental to the film. At a certain point, there were enough of those arbitrary decisions made that the film could not survive.
Yeah.
The process.
Yeah.
I remember at a certain point, like we had a really great ending, I thought, and I still do think, but Lionsgate felt like our ending. They wanted an ending. They wanted a different ending, so that we could shoot a different ending for like DVD or something like that, an alternate ending, and they wanted. in our ending, the bad guy in the story turns out to have been like not real. It's a hoax or it's a prank or something. And they wanted us to shoot an ending where that guy was real, the bad guy was real, and he comes and he kills everybody or some stupid shit. And they gave us literally the same ultimatum about Paris. Like, if you want to go to Paris, you'll shoot this. And so they gave us like a day to write it, and we sent over the pages, and they were like, no, this is no good. Like, it needs to be this. And they sent back like, this is the page, these are the pages. And then we didn't have an actor. So they cast it from L.A. and they cast this Romanian, like, I guess he's like the Romanian equivalent of like Spencer Tracy or something.
Okay.
Like this, like really accomplished,
right,
really great actor. But he's in his mid-70s, and when he arrives on set, like the bad guy in the movie he's like 6.5 feet tall. The guy who plays him, Cabral, is literally, he's 6'6" or 6'7" or something like that. Big fucking dude. Really friendly guy, but he's huge.
Yeah.
And this fucking actor shows up, and he's like 5'5", or he's like, 5'4", and he's pot-bellied, and he's like this guy who I find out he's considered a great actor, but he's really he's a comedic actor. Oh, and he's in his mid-70s. And they gave us 1 day to shoot it, and we had to kill 7 people in 1 day, and we had no prosthetics, we had no practical effects, and we got a guy who looks like like a little fucking goblin. That's running around with a fucking pickaxe. I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Oh God!
And there was just and it's ridiculous.
You took so many shots to the balls in this whole thing.
Well, at a certain point, you're just like, you know what? Like, we just can't do. It's just it. There was enough. We sustained enough damage over the course of those 4 weeks that that we just couldn't come out the other side and survive. Like, there was just no way that we could overcome that. And then also because the Saw films had become so successful, they're incredibly violent movies. Like, I couldn't watch the third film.
Yeah, I don't even think that kind of thing is scary. That's a whole different subject.
It's not really my thing.
It's
but
just a whole different. I wouldn't even call it horror, really. It's
a version of horror, but it's fetishistic that it becomes.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you're into it, that's fine. But I mean, it doesn't really.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's another subject.
And whoa, check that out. Is that a balloon?
And there's like some weird UFO in the sky.
I think it's a balloon that's popped and is now falling back to Earth. That is really. That's a balloon, right? That's
I think so. Yeah,
went
that's
up
crazy.
high enough to have the air sink out of it.
It went up in Tokyo and came down here.
But the Saw films have become so successful, and they were films that were very, 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 very on-screen, violent gore. I mean, they call it horror porn, right, or violence porn, whatever it is.
Yeah. Horror
porn,
something like that,
right? Whatever.
Yeah.
And when we had set out to do this film,
torture porn.
That's what it is. Yeah. When we set out to do this film with Greg Hoffman, our producer who passed away, we really set out to make, and he knew it, and we were all on the same page to make something that was the opposite of that. Like, we didn't want to make something that was incredibly on-screen violent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we wanted to do something that was much more in like the 70s vein, something that, which people, I don't know if that means anything anymore to say that it's like a 70s horror.
Well, they were slasher movies back then, though. I mean, it was
it's become almost like a meaningless term that people would throw around, or they were for a while there. But anyway, but so when we were finished with an assembly cut of the film, an assembly cut is when you just stick all the pieces together to make sure you have everything, and it's not really any good to watch. The people at Lionsgate were just like, well, where's all the violence and gore and blood and awful, evil things happening? And all of us were like, well, that's just not what this movie is about. And they're like, well, that's what this movie needs to be about. And I'm like, well, dude, we shot all it. I mean, we're done shooting. Like, unless you guys want to put up some more cash to do that. And they were just like, no, and so we had to sit there and try and figure out
how to cut it together in a way
how
that
to
would make it
recut things and how to make things go together to try and make it violent and to try and give it more of that like real cutty quick like MTV flash cuts and all those like single frame edits and stuff. And
which I'm also not a fan of, by the way.
Yeah, and so we had to do all this incredibly we were pandering to the studio and the producers, I think, and in a way that because by then we knew we were fucked, and so we were just doing anything we could to try and get the film to get them to at least give the film a second look, and they never did, but I think so. Doing another one would be fun to
much more independent.
Yeah, to do something that well, also at this point, I don't really. I think I'm not. I wouldn't be necessarily as obliging.
Mm-hmm.
Because I understand at this point, like, well, you can't dismantle the entire story based on arbitrary producer notes.
Yeah.
Because it can't survive. Like everything's there for a particular reason, and if you take it apart and don't replace it with something equally meaningful to the story, then you're in a lot of trouble.
I learned some very similar hard lessons and have come to the same conclusion when I had my first little go around with my first feature that came close to happening, but then was pulled. But we were doing similar, not to that extent because it hadn't been made yet, but similar, just constant revisions to constant changes, all these requests to make things more marketable. And by the time it got to the point where we were going to do it, this is going to be my first film I was directing.
We've talked a lot about
and I was, so I was, really wanting to do it, but inside I was really just like, my soul was really crushed because I knew we were doing something that was not what I set out to do, because I was making these, concessions for all these requests, and if it's not your money, basically they have to put the money down and agree on what you're going to do, and that's it. Cut it loose, boom, that's what it's going to be. And I know what you mean. It's like you can't be, it's not, you're just being firm and holding on to your own integrity. It's not like you're being difficult or being a pain in the ass. You're just doing, you have to, because if you don't, someone else will take that reign and they'll do whatever they want with it.
And also you're giving, in film, I feel like, or maybe not just in film, but in any of these high dollar endeavors, but in film is my experience, everyone is looking for an excuse to say no. Everyone, it's because it's so much easier to say no than it is to say yes. Mm-hmm. And so as a person trying to get them to say yes, you end up wanting to be accommodating and to,
especially your first time around when you're like, whoa, this is really happening, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever it takes.
Yeah, exactly. And you just think like, we'll fix it in editing or fix it in post or whatever bullshit. Right. And Daniel and I did Undying Love, and we did that as a script, and for whatever reason it didn't sell, and then we did it as a comic book, and it did. And the comic, I really loved the comic, and we were in this great position where the comic was really well received critically, and it did pretty well financially. And then the Warner Brothers came on board, and we wrote the script for Warner Brothers. And so we were in this great position where we could be really accommodating because the book was great, or people thought the book was great, and we were really happy with the book. And so if the movie was great, then we could take all the credit in the world for that. And if the movie sucked, then we could just blame it on Hollywood, because we had obviously done a great book. So we were in this wonderful position. But everybody wanted... We told everybody at the beginning of the story, like, we didn't do a first act with Undying Love because we just wanted to get straight to the good stuff, like the gunfights and the monsters and the love affair and all this other, hot and heavy bullshit. And that's what everybody they loved that about it. That we didn't have the first act where we meet everybody and they fall in love and then they have to go do whatever. And they said, "Oh, that's great. That's one of the reasons we really like it. But we need to have that if we're going to make a film. A film needs to have that." And I would say, "Well,
why?
The book doesn't need to have it, and the script doesn't need to have it. So why does the fucking film need to have it?" And but everybody doesn't want to know why these people love each other. And I'm like, well, when you see Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie on screen and they look at each other from across a room and they have that pause and you pop into an ultra close where you see the twinkle in their eye and Brad Pitt gives that kind of half smile that he does, you know that they're in love. Like, you know it. There's no need to then flash back to show how they met each other.
Right,
and
them
whatever.
frolicking on a beach or whatever.
Yeah, and so, but they were convinced we needed a love story, or we needed to have this first act, and so Daniel and I must have written for 6 months trying to add in an explanation for why these two were in love. And we'd write a first act, and then we'd have to cut it down to a cold open, and then we'd have to do it in flashbacks. And we did it every way you could imagine. And then you'd bring in then we started bringing in directors, and we've had 13 different producers giving notes, and I admit fully, like, the script got. And I would tell people, like, we're not precious. Like, Daniel and I are not being precious about the writing because we just want to make it good.
Right.
But the producers are really fucking precious. And, like, we'd have scenes, I don't want to mention any names, but there were certain scenes in the script that a producer would say, like, oh, write this line, and they would email us a line, and we had to stick that exact goddamn line in there. And then, in a subsequent draft, that scene would be cut out of the movie or cut out of the script, and then the producer would call us back a couple days later and say, I think we could stick that line here, and we'd have to figure out a way to work that line into a scene that it had no
relevance to anything.
There was no bearing. That line was it was like a total outlier that just came from nowhere, and they would just say this kind of non sequitur, and then he'd just go back to whatever your regular scene is, and you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? This is why you guys don't get any
And this is
movies
months,
made.
by the way.
Months and months and months. And then eventually we bring in 4 pretty good directors over the course of the time that
I heard
a couple of really
some of
big
those
directors
names
on it right now.
Yeah.
And we liked all of them. And they were all a lot of fun to work with and whatever. And they all really were great to Daniel and I, but every one of them would come in and they'd say, the thing I want to do is we want to get it back to what the comic was. And the producers and everybody fucking involved would go, exactly. That is exactly what we've been trying to do all this time. And I'm like, dude, I wrote the fucking comic book.
A year and a half
and
ago.
I wrote the script that you guys are now peddling. And I'm privy to every conversation that's gone on. Like, the last thing you wanted to do was get back to what the comic was. And so just a really weird business. I just don't understand the and Daniel and I have written 4 or 5 things since then, and every experience has kind of been very similar, where it turns into a group of people, producers, that don't get things made, that are in very big companies at very big positions, and they make a lot of money, but they don't make a lot of movies, that just sit there and they go round in circles for 4 or 5 months or 6 months
or even years,
a year, and then eventually just lose.
And then they just move on, and
they get a different position, and the new person that comes on doesn't want to. If a new producer comes on because someone quit or got fired, there's no way in hell that new person's going to even.
Well, and as time goes on, people's availability, directors, actors, it all is always in flux. So whatever plan that they had before it can't be the same in a few months or whatever, or especially 6 months, 12 months.
And so you just keep running into this like Groundhog's Day of like, just repeating the same sequence of events over and over and over and over and over ad nauseum forever. And so, I think the whole point is I just don't want to. I don't want to do any of that. Like, I'm so fucking over that. Like, I don't care about going into some bigwig's office and like impressing him enough that he gives me a job rewriting some awful script that's never going to get made and just going to make my life hell for a few months. I'd rather just draw the book or figure out a way to raise the money or I mean, I have so many friends that are really, really successful screenwriters, and these are guys who've made enormous amounts of money and they own homes, they own vacation homes, they have, young actresses for girlfriends long after they should have no longer been allowed to have young actresses for girlfriends, and they're living these really great lives, but professionally they've never had a movie produced.
Wow, and that's actually pretty common, isn't it?
Yeah. Most people don't get your movies produced because they have thousands of movies written and then they make 10.
Yeah.
Or hundreds of movies written, I guess. And they'll have these files on the desktop of their computers that will say like scripts. And it'll be filled with 30 or 20 or 30 or 40 different screenplays they've written and been paid for and made very good amounts of money with. But they have no... My friends, or we always call it in my comic thing, the guys I hang out with, we always call it inches on your bookshelf, where you have like, on my bookshelf I have about a foot of, or maybe 2 feet of books I've done, like that are stacked next to each other. That's like, those are my inches of work. And if you're a film writer or a screenwriter, for the most part, you don't have anything. Like you can't show any of it to anybody because it's owned by somebody else. You can't decide you're going to make it on your own because you never owned it in the first place.
Right.
You can't publish it in a different medium because you don't own any of it. So you can never actually. It's like a vacuum where like you just write things and put them in this little file and they pay you for them, but you never get to actually be recognized for any of it. No matter how good or bad it is, you never have any. And every drawing I've done since I was about 17 years old, maybe not every drawing, but 95% of the drawings I've done since I was about 17 years old are for publication. Like I don't...
Right, you are a result.
I draw something, and then a few months later it goes out into the world as a published piece of work, and then I'm drawing other things the whole time, and so there's never...
A black hole effect.
The only black hole I have is the shit I've written for Hollywood, or the shit I've made for Hollywood that eventually just doesn't go anywhere. And it's a really weird... It's one of the reasons I just absolutely am baffled by Hollywood, because I see what comes out, and I'm not saying that I do anything better, but there's an enormous amount of work and thought and effort and I guess probably love and like real determination put into creating incredibly half-ass material. And I'm just like baffled by it. My wife is a line producer for very, very successful TV shows. And a lot of, I know a lot of people she works with, and I know or I've got to meet, some of the people that are the stars of those shows or whatever. And there's a reason they're successful. Like people really are busting their asses and putting a lot of work in, and the stars are generally some of the most charming people you'll ever meet. But at the end of the day, the product you're producing is just like a reality show, kind of like filler. It's just background noise for when you're cooking in the kitchen or something. And I'm just always baffled by all the huge amount of work that goes into producing such middle of the road stuff.
Yeah. I hope, dude, I really, really hope that, maybe over time, I don't know, but I hope you'll have an opportunity to do something that you want,
I do.
whether you
If I
raise
don't,
money,
I don't.
whatever the case may be. I hope you do. I think we've gone about twice the length of any of the other podcasts here, and
I know.
Honestly, it's been fucking awesome. It's been a great talk.
I don't want it to sound like a bummer. Like
No, you know what?
End on that kind of. I hope you get another chance. Me too, man. Me too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm really happy. I love drawing pictures, and I love my little life. And I live in the same neighborhood, which is the best neighborhood, voted the hippest neighborhood in the world.
This one is?
Yeah, Los Feliz.
No shit.
By was it Time Magazine or something?
Are you serious? Really?
It was one of those things that was like they had this whole list of 500 different qualities that they graded every prominent neighborhood in the world on. And
holy shit!
Los Feliz
I'm glad you said that instead of just the hippest, because I promise you guys I do not have a bow tie on nor skinny jeans.
No, my pants are probably too tight. But
but you didn't come here on a unicycle though.
No. I came here in a shitty
that.
Camry that I hate. I hate my car.
Dude, no, but this has been a great talk, even if we didn't have these mics, which stayed on this time, thankfully.
Well, there you go.
So thanks for coming, dude. And
I do this every interview.
You do them often?
No, I've done...
You've done a few.
I've done a few, but then in pitch meetings too, everybody would always be like, this has been so much fun, but it's like 3 times longer than any pitch meeting I ever had.
That's a good sign.
And I'm always like, yeah, that's a really good sign. That means you're going to hire me, right? Well... well...
Let's end on that note. We'll call you.
I got to run.
Yeah.
But, no, this has been a blast. I can't wait to listen back to it while I'm working and
listen to your own voice many times.
I've done it a few times now, and it's an interesting sensation.
Thanks, dude.
I sound higher and whinier than I think I normally do. So, all right.
Okay. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. That's a handshake sound.
Yes, that was a clasp, much like the Predator Arnold and Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers. I'm going to take his acting class.
Okay. Thanks, man.
All right.
Bye.
So that was Tomm Coker. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I did. We had a good time, as I think you can tell. I'm going to go ahead and put up links to a lot of the stuff that we talked about in this talk on the blog at triumphanddisasterblog.com. And if you go to my personal website, you can actually see a drawing that he did of me as sort of a thumbnail at cammcharg.com, which is, there's a dash in there. So it's cam-mcharg.com if you want to take a look at that. But I'll post some examples of some of his work on the blog, on the Triumph and Disaster blog, and some links, some stuff about catacombs if I can find it and that sort of thing. And I hope you enjoyed. If you did, it would be great if you guys could just take a quick second to just rate and review it on iTunes. And I do that, and I ask for that not for likes. It's not about getting likes so much as what it is iTunes will help promote the show if we get more of those. So it would be really helpful, and I'd really appreciate it. And share it, and stick around for next week. Talk to you then. Thanks. Bye.